All
Hi,
right,
okay.
go ahead.
Hi, my name is Barbara Jones. I'm the special education coordinator with Cleveland ISD. I've had a total of 17 years in the field of education. As an administrator, I have had 10 years. I am going on to my 18th year in December, but I am really happy to be here with you today.
Nice. And ooh, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there. My next question was going to be, now, was this your first employment field, was education, or did you come from?
No, it was not. So I started out as an LVN, and
Oh,
then I got hurt on the job. We had a basketball player that was quite tall, went into the room, the crank. Back in the days, we had a crank bed, tripped over the crank bed, fractured my hip, and I had some back issues. So I ended up changing my degree path from being in the RN program to going into business administration. So I went back to school, got a degree in business administration, started working for Sprint. I was with Sprint for a total of 9 years because I was in the hospital system for 11 years. So 11, 9, and then I went into education after the fact that I was being treated for cancer with my nephew. I started spending a lot of time at the school and end up changing my field from the corporate world to education.
were you ever in the classroom?
Was I in a classroom before?
Yeah. Did you have to,
No.
were you ever like a co-teach or
So let me
teaching?
tell you, when I started, let me go back. When I was at Sprint, I was a coach there. So I coached the reps how to provide quality customer service. So I had got to that point. And then when I decided to go back and get my master's, I went to the executive office department where I just had a certain hours and I had to do the shift work because I was a supervisor and coaching and all that. So when I got ill and my nephew moved in the house with me, I started going to the school and I started providing support to the students with special needs.
Okay.
And it was one little boy that the teacher told me that he would never do work for her and that they had been experiencing some difficulties with him. And I started working with that kid, and he started being able to do his math and do his assignments. And then I went into the field of education, took a $10,000 cut in pay, and then also took my bonuses. We were getting from Sprint, I would get a bonus maybe per year of 20,000. So the least uh, for as pay that I was getting, I could get anywhere from 30 to more thousands of dollars in pay. I took that cut, plus the insurance benefit cut, and went into education. So in education, I started out as a PPCD teacher, which was teaching pre-K. Our students that we call our early childhood special education students now. I started out in that environment along with teaching pre-K. So in the morning time, I had my own early childhood special education classroom. And then in the PM, I taught pre-K students. And then that was in Duncanville ISD. I was traveling I was out there near the Haslett area. So I
Yeah.
was driving from Haslett to go to Duncanville every day. And
Oh,
then an opportunity came about that I can move to Crowley. And I went to Crowley as um, I did resource, I did inclusion, and I did content mastery. So I did all of that with all elementary levels when I first started out. And then we had the cut in staff. I was the last one hired, so I was certified in all of special ed, all the way to eighth grade. So HR came in and they said, "Oh, you're going over to middle school. Oh, I dreaded that. But when I got to middle school, I fell in love. It was like a different passion. So I end up teaching resource math, um, and also having inclusion support for math and science. And then that same year, we had an algebra teacher leave, and I had got certified at the higher grade level. So I ended up taking on that person's job. So they took me from teaching SPED and they put me in a pre-AP, and I was teaching pre-AP algebra and eighth grade math. So that year I had transitioned over with teaching all of that in one year. And then the next
Yeah,
year I just taught regular math. I taught seven, eighth grade and algebra the following year for 3 years. And
right.
then I decided that I needed to get close to home, and because my dad was very ill, I left Crawley and went to Keller, and that's when I went back to SPED. I went back to SPED as a sixth grade teacher, inclusion, and I did inclusion and I did um, resource. So from there, I did that for 1 year at a intermediate campus, and then one of my line sisters, because I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta, was in Keller, and she said, "I really need you to come over and teach my pre-AP." Remember, she was saying, "Remember when you were in Crawley?" Because she was in Crawley too, and she said you were top notch there and such and such. She said, "That's what I need you to do when you come over to my campus." And I said, I'm not coming over to your campus. I'm going to stay here and such and such. Next thing I know, I was at her campus at Trinity Springs, and she had me teaching seventh grade pre-AP, seventh grade math. And I was the top notch there. They had the performance was for my kiddos when they did all the way around the district performance. Mine was either at the very first one or the third person when it came to teachers. So that's how I got started in education. That's a little bit of background on me.
And we are very lucky to have you because it looks like you have dabbled in a lot of different age groups, which is beneficial now that you are, the assistant and your doctor now. So congratulations on that. So through that whole thing, you've been, on your own educational journey. But I was going to start out with like some of the current issues in special ed to see what your intake was about those. So what do you see as the most pressing current issue affecting special education today at the national and local levels?
I think the major issue that we see in society now is actually getting teachers that are properly certified in SPED or have a SPED background. And then also them having the skills to work with certain students that have different needs, uh, especially when it comes to those with behavior needs. And so
Mm.
I see that as a real struggle in our society now is retaining teachers and getting quality.
Yeah, I have that. I have stuff to go with that too. Um, what strategies do you use to respond to the teacher shortage and the high turnovers that you just talked about?
So let me tell you what I do because we have a lot of new teachers this year in Cleveland ISD. I try to provide them all different types of resources that are readily available for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've created different documents that they can reference back to so that they have that when they don't have me. And what I do is I reach out to the teachers to seek feedback from them, how I can better support them and really investigate or talk with them from a standpoint of these are conversations that are between you and I. Where is the support needed? Because some of them are faced with challenges with students. Some of them are faced with challenges with their administrative team and not feeling supported. Some of them are just faced with everyday life situations. So basically, what I do is to try to build relationships. And I think building those relationships are key. And also, knowing what needs they have when it comes to having new teachers versus having a teacher that just transferred from another district into the role here in Cleveland, getting that background knowledge and trying to inquire what are the needs, and also going out and doing observations to say, hey, these are the things that need to happen in this classroom setting or should be happening in a classroom setting that is maybe where your area of support is needed versus listening to directly what they say. Doing those observations and providing that feedback is key to our students' success overall.
Man, that's good leadership. Definitely like feedback. I like that. And how you said you take what they say, but you also go on your own to go observe to see because, you're the expert and, having them having that confidence in you to tell you, individually and in private of where they struggle. That's nice. How do you address parent concerns related to the over identification or the under identification of disabilities?
I think the key thing is really listening to the parents and determining what is the true area of need when it comes to not only the parent perception of the need, but actually analyzing the data, getting parent feedback, teacher feedback, and also student feedback and doing the evaluation. And then saying, hey, these are what we observed, this is what we have, and really letting them know whether or not their student qualifies or don't qualify up under the 13 disabilities.
How do you prioritize the special education funding to ensure that both compliance and high quality service is being given?
So funding is there's a big I can tell you that funding right now is very touchy because we have our needs when it comes to special population of students have increased. You're seeing more behaviors that we haven't seen in the past. So you have to staff based upon what you're seeing. The needs of our students are changing. So we're looking at different ratios when it comes to teacher and student ratios because you got to base it on the needs of the students.
Mhm.
So I can tell you that funding really is impactful because every district have seen it to where they are experiencing some funding issues. As you know, our bond did pass. So some of the things that was in the bond to see us, for example, technology for us in
Mhm.
our department. We have students now that need upgraded iPads, but we have to work with the technology that we have been provided. And so when it comes to different applications and different tools and resources, we have to say, hey, maybe let's look at what Gen Ed has that is compatible versus purchasing something new. So
Oh, that's
if I
smart.
if I
Yeah.
had to say certain things about funding, it is very touchy per
I like
se.
what you said how sometimes it's already there. You just didn't know it existed.
Hmm.
Kind of like how schools started those class links because you go ask for apps and they already have an app that does what you're trying. So I like that. And I also was going to piggyback on that about the technology piece, how you talked about the bond. How has technology changed your approach to special ed? And has it presented any challenges? You know how you just said those kids need updated iPads. But
Hmm.
just the fact that have you seen that a change in that, like the fact that they do have iPads now, or other electronic devices?
So it's to the point to now we're having to partner with technology to get our students Chromebooks versus the iPads.
Oh,
A lot
that's
of the devices that we use when it comes to communication apps function better on an iPad versus a Chromebook. So what we're looking at is how we can incorporate different other apps so that
Mm,
our students will be able to function at the level of support that they need. Not because, the district is not trying to help and partner with us. It is due to funding. We have to have additional funding in order to purchase, and sometimes our budget is just not suitable for purchasing all of our students an iPad. But we are trying to meet their needs based upon the technology that they need in order to communicate.
right. Um, and again, you can tell that that's probably from having those candid conversations with your staff, like how they're like, "Hey, this is a great idea, but the communication piece, ain't there." So yeah, that says a lot about you and analyzing the information that they're getting. So I'm learning something here.
Yeah.
That yeah, that definitely got to keep the doors open with your staff. So as far as like instructional strategies and just like the quality of programs, what strategies do you use to improve outcome for students with significant cognitive disabilities?
So I think when you're talking about significant cognitive disabilities, you have to look at individual students and where their needs are. We have students that I can give an example in the district in our life skills program. We have students that really struggle with verbal communication or even doing any functions of daily life activities. So we have to have a curriculum and resources that are readily available to meet the needs of those students as well as other students that can go in an inclusive setting. So I think I got off track a little, but I think
Well,
when
you
you're
you
talking
you
about
answered it.
strategies,
Yeah, you
when
said
I,
just you got to look at them individually because what
yeah.
works for one doesn't always work for the masses. Just like a classroom, but probably
Mhm.
more so evident in those classes, right? 'Cause-
But you were relating to strategies per se. And I
Mhm.
think that when it relates to the strategies, you have to look at what works for each individual student. And sometimes just allowing the teachers to observe how you interact by modeling for them
Mhm.
really help them get a better understanding of what they should be doing in a classroom setting with working with certain students. And so strategy is going to be when we're talking about strategies in our general population of students, we're talking about making sure that we're scaffolding the content, that we're providing visual aids, that we are paraphrasing, rephrasing, going in and showing them different images that can substitute a word per se. It's just simple as that. Um, I think that that helps our special education population as well as our EB population of students.
Oh yeah, how do y'all what type of accommodations do y'all make for that when the students also has there's a language barrier? That's a good piece. Yeah.
So that, I mean, those visual aids and making sure that based upon the student's language, is that we are communicating to help them understand that one meaning in their own language may not be the same in English. And so trying to
Right.
differentiate that. And then the images also help them get a better understanding of the language barriers that we have when we're, especially with our newcomers, making sure that we provide examples and try to incorporate time for them to be able to differentiate between their language and learning English.
Yeah, providing examples.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So and the last question is, how do you ensure like district wide that everybody's in compliance with the federal compliance, the state compliance and regulations? Like, how do y'all ensure that everybody's in compliance?
So mainly what we do is we have a lead case manager meeting So we meet with the lead case managers to provide updates. So, of course, we meet at the beginning of the year and we talk about things throughout the year. One way of keeping updates going from campus to campus in the district is the lead case manager meeting that we have every 6 weeks or every month. It varies this year because of the amount of teachers that we have brought on that are new. So, just keeping them updated via email and partnering with their point of contact, which is their administrative point of contact as well, and letting them know by sending an email with a link or sending a presentation, just giving them the updates and keeping them informed. I think the communication is very important, especially as we go throughout the year with all of the updates and changes, because there is a lot that passed over the summer time.
Yeah.
A lot of laws that have been updated and just keeping them informed of how it applies to SPED.
Mm. Even in my own field, the attendance now when we have those attendance improvement meetings, we have to include the case manager, a gen ed teacher, which in the past we've kind of always done, but now it's like you have to do that to
It's
make
a
sure that
requirement.
that their disability isn't contributing to why they're not at school. But anyways, thank you so much. And this is all helpful. And we are very blessed here at Cleveland ISD to have you on our staff. And what a remarkable journey. Like you actually have been in the business world, transitioned to the educational world, and now you're in educational leadership. So you had a lot of good things to say that really just align with what we've been learning about, especially the instructional strategies, the scaffolding, the visuals, and while I've never taught a special ed classroom, I can tell that it probably encompasses a lot of planning and collaboration and, just really like any class, but getting really to know your students
Yes, and that
because,
is
yeah.
key. That's very key.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Jones. I appreciate this
All right. Well,
and
thank you.
you've been helpful. Thank
All
you.
right. Let me know if anything else you need, okay?